Welcome to How We Money, brought to you by Māori Millionaire and ANZ, a 6-part series designed to help you make better money moves and achieve your financial goals. Each month we'll drop a simple, practical episode to help you build confidence with your cash. Māori Millionaire and ANZ care deeply about financial well-being in our communities, which is why we want you to not just listen, but to take action. If you do one positive thing after every episode, that's 6 powerful steps forward. Let's get into it. Maureora e te whānau, no mai hoki mai. Today we are talking about the big one, getting into your first home. We're going to be talking about the steps you might want to take in order to make that happen. And today we are sitting here with Tegan Yorwarth, no mai haere mai e hoa. I'm so excited for our kōrero today.
I am too, kia ora.
Wow, for anyone who doesn't know you, anyone who's been living under a rock, would you be able to introduce yourself for our audience?
Yeah, sure. My name's Tegan Yorwarth and I am 29 years old. I have been working at a radio station called Mai FM, hottest hip-hop and R&B in the country, the best place you're going to get it. I've been there, for quite some time. I've been a radio host. I've sort of delved into other stuff, TV hosting, MCing. I guess I've got a big online presence now as well. So I don't know, what do they call us now? Creators? Or something like that. I don't know.
The I word.
Multifaceted, I don't know. But that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, the side hustles.
Yeah.
So, in today's economy, so many people are struggling with puta, the struggling like cost of living, crazy, all of the things. And so for a lot of people, getting into their first home is like, that's like never happening. Would you be able to just share with us a little bit about your home ownership journey and how did you get started with this?
Yeah, it feels a bit unrelatable sometimes as soon as people get into that homeowner chat. And I think obviously it was always a dream of mine. Like you see your parents do it. Like I was fortunate enough to see my parents do it a little bit later in life, but I wanted a home before I was 30. But obviously in this economy it was tough. And I think I'm that first generation where it was actually almost unattainable to get your first home, or you had to really shift your mindset like a different way that your parents did it. So I came into an industry, I've obviously been in broadcasting, and really fortunate that we work in a space where you can find other opportunities to make money. So first off, that was a really good place to start. But I really had the goal, and I only thought about it in the sense a man's not a plan. I was thinking how can I do this by myself? How much money do I need to be saving? And just kept working toward it. But I really thought it was something I wouldn't be able to do until I was well into my 30s, because of how living in Auckland, for example, you not often are you going to find a home cheaper than $1 million, right? So when you have a figure like that, $1 million in your head, you're like, okay, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get there. But when you start to break it down, you go, okay, it's 20% deposit. Okay, how much am I earning every year? How much can I live off every year? And start breaking down all the numbers. I think that's when I started sort of opening the door for the journey to get toward it. And I think a lot more people are closer to home ownership than they think, especially if you have savings and a decent KiwiSaver. And I think if you're thinking about your KiwiSaver when you're younger, because I think when I first got a job, part-time job when I was a teenager, I was opt out. No one's getting my money. And then it wasn't till maybe I was in uni that, I don't know if it was a parent or maybe a peer that was no, you need that money. If it's not for retirement, it's for your first home. You should really be putting money aside, minimum contribution, whatever. But as I got older, I realized the importance of it. And I did things like putting my contribution up to 8%, because there was a sort of a space in my early 20s where I got a little bit of a pay rise and I thought, and I was nearly paying off my student loan. And so I thought, okay, before I get comfortable with the pay rise, let's open that contribution up more. So I went from 3% to 8% and then kept it on that for a long time. And I was fortunate enough that then the funds started to rack up without me even realizing. But I never got used to that pay rise. I just was oh, whatever. I didn't really look at my pay slip and how much money was going in the KiwiSaver, but it really paid off come in the last year when we were able to buy a home. Yeah.
That's a mean story. And honestly, when I first heard your home ownership journey, I was that is just incredible. And I think that you being able to show for Māori, for Pacifica, for anyone who's in this economy, that you can do it. Obviously there are certain things you're going to have to do, whether it's cutting back or finding extra ways to boost your income, but it is possible. And I really think that that's a powerful narrative for our people to be able to see. Like when I first started Māori Millionaire, like I thought $1 million was like ginormous in my head. I was like, far, like you're like really, really, really rich if you have $1 million. But like obviously like now I feel like it's like, well, like in Auckland, that's probably just like your average kind of whare. Like, you know, it is a lot of money, but it's also not as much money as I thought it was at the beginning of this. And, you know, in your kōrero, it also reminds me of when I got my first job. My mum was so like, nah, you don't have any bills at home. So like and that's such a privilege that I want to acknowledge. But also she was like, nah, you can like put your KiwiSaver on the max contribution. So I was like putting on 8% at that time. And, you know, I was like thinking like, this is going to help me get into my first home and like, this is going to like boost towards that. And honestly, now I look at it and I'm like, that's cool. Cause so many young people, they're like, you know, opt out or don't know. And I think that like over time, it's just going to grow, you know, so that's quite a cool thing. And I also loved your whakaaro too about like lifestyle inflation. I think most of us, you know, if your goal is like, you know, to buy a property in Auckland and say that's $1 million, it can feel so far away for a lot of people. So you get a small pay rise and it's like, well, you know, I'm so far away from my job, from my goal. Like I'll just, you know, spend that extra little money. But like if it's a little bit, like it does like contribute towards this goal if you put away, if you're intentional about those like small pay rises that you get.
100%. And I think also another time when I had that pay rise, although it wasn't a pay rise, was when I finished paying my student loan. So that was 12% of my pay that was automatically going toward it, which at the same time, I didn't know any different, right? But then as soon as I paid it off and I got that 12% back, I put that 12% away. Like I never let myself see it. And that was something just my parents had told me about. Like, if you ever come into a little bit more money, don't let yourself get used to, like, because sometimes when you earn more, you spend more. And I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be buying things that I really don't need, but I think just like in moderation, just sort of reshaping that. And like, I was even talking about this with a colleague the other day, and even my partner, like I was telling him like next year, like I'm off contract this year. So it means I've got a chance to negotiate. And if I get a little bit of a pay rise, I was saying to him like, oh, with that extra money, I'll work it out and potentially put more of that on the mortgage, which allows him some space to have some more money to save. And so like working together toward a goal like that. But yeah, I think that's probably been my biggest, it's not even a skill. It's just like a little tip that like maybe no one's thinking about. Like if you ever do come into money, and like you say, it's like privileged position as well. Like I'm lucky that I'm in a job where those opportunities do come up, but I never let myself get used to the money being in my account. Like I was trying to like rethink how it looked. But even so, like we're talking about like inflation and things like that. I had friends in the same 5 years, I stayed in the same flat in Auckland. Not a bad flat, but a cold flat. I stayed in it for 5 years because the rent was so cheap. I think in Auckland, I was in central Auckland and paying maybe like at the most, like even just before I left, like $240 including.
Wow.
And I stayed in this old cold flat for as long as I could, because I knew like the price of the flat never changed. So any money coming in, like it was just more to save for me. Whereas I had other friends that, you know, really wanted to live in the nice place and rent the nice place, which is cool, and go them. But it meant every time they had to pay another bond and pay moving costs. And so in all those times they had to pay for those things, I never did. And so this was all money I looked at as like pocketing away. And it was like small sacrifice now for the big payout later. And I think maybe just having that, like, you know, just making those small sacrifices, like, yeah, as long as you're not getting sick from a cold flat, you know what I mean? And I wasn't. Like, just put the hot water bottle in your bed. And I did. And
get some fluffy pajamas.
Yeah, you know, literally. Have some nice slippers and get through another winter. And it could mean that you save like another $50 a week or something. You know what I mean?
You know, value-based spending, thinking about like the things that we really value and then spending our putia on those things. And I feel like if you've got a big goal, like that's going to require some big moves. Like you've just got to do some things and you've got to be willing to sacrifice. So if people are willing to like delay gratification, they're willing to make those changes. Do you think that getting into your first whare is like a realistic goal that, you know, people in Aotearoa can set?
Oh, for sure. And I do think also, and this is only speaking from my own experience, that like, if you can untrain yourself to want to keep up with the Joneses, I think you'll be fine. There's things you're allowed to spend money on. So like my dad, for instance, like, and I find both my parents really solid with their money. Like mum can be stingy as, but she's getting better. And I'm like, no, you're fine. Like you can actually spend that money. But dad's a lot more of like a smart spender in the way that he will spend money on quality rather than the cheaper option. And he's sort of told us that, like, sometimes it's better to get the more expensive option because it's going to last you longer. So, like, yeah, like the whether it's the thing you buy, I don't know, the cost per wear or like getting...
Mine's like mascara. Like I bought like good quality mascara. It's last like 2 years. Like that's crazy. But those cheap ones would only last like a couple months. So I feel like just like taking it back into like some kind of actionable steps that people can take in order to get into their first whare. I feel like for a lot of people, KiwiSaver is probably like the biggest way that people are able to like save that deposit. Because like for a lot of people, like if you're looking at $1 million property in Auckland and if you're doing a 20% deposit, like 200 grand is a lot of money to a lot of people. And they're like, how on earth am I going to save 200 grand? I feel like through KiwiSaver and the different benefits that it, you know, opens up, it can open pathways that like a lot of people wouldn't necessarily have otherwise.
Yeah, and I think also learning, so I actually saw a KiwiSaver advisor a few years ago as well. And so he got me to put my, like, I didn't know that there was different funds. So you can have like a conservative fund, which is obviously like not going to grow as fast as much, but it's safer. And then there's the kind of middle ground, and then there's the aggressive fund. So because I was kind of wanting to get into the property market within the next sort of 5-ish years at the time I saw him, we decided to put it on sort of a moderate level fund, and we had it at 8%. And so just making those little moves actually helped grow it. So I think if I had kept it on the conservative fund, which I had always had it on, not knowing it was on that, I just think you just tick a box when you're 19 and like whatever. And I think if I hadn't made that move, I wouldn't have had as much money. And so even like my colleague, he's a little bit older than me, and he's sort of in that realm where him and his partner might look at getting into property. And he was really, really lucky that in his early 20s, a mate from work went, no, put it up to 8% and on aggressive. And he just went, oh yeah, whatever, and just did it. And now his KiwiSaver is so healthy. So he's got he's got like 10% on his own for the house. You know what I mean? But I think that was like really valuable stuff that sort of helped that grow faster than I could have ever imagined. But I think that's on that lack of knowledge or access to information we have about investing. And because like I didn't know that a KiwiSaver was investing. Like they seem like two separate entities to me, but it's just an investment that you can't really access as much as something else. Like if you were putting money into the S&P 500 or in an index fund or something, which is a whole nother kōrero.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, numbers. And sometimes for me, I also learnt that I have quite an anxious attachment style to money. So I also think this might be to do with the career I've chosen. We work contract to contract. And you always kind of train, the money's not always going to be there. One day you might be irrelevant and you can't get any work. So I think that might be why I was hoarding money a little bit, but also I always felt like my money was safer in my bank account because I could see it. And that's actually probably not the best place. Or it's a fine place to have it, but it's not the best place for it to be if you want to make more out of it.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, when you talk about like hoarding money, I used to do that too. And I think that when you think about like scarcity and it's like you fear like running out or not having enough, it's like, well, this makes me feel safe. This makes me feel protected. And like I've been there before, and I kind of realized that like, have my safety net there. Like I like to have 6 months of living costs, and that just gives me so much peace of mind. But then beyond that, it's like, okay, let's make this money work for me. And those are in those different ways to like invest putea. And so like KiwiSaver is a huge part of being able to just like grow that, and being on my own home ownership journey, being in the process of that, it's just been so helpful to just have it. And do you know the thing I love most about it, and people hate this, is that you can't get into it. Like I love
that. I love
it. I need like, it's like so good. And I think that it's important for us to like use strategies that work for us, because some of us, you know, I was just having a kōrero with someone about like different people on the spectrum, for example, and how we, I guess, use like, dopamine, and how some people are more at risk to like credit cards and to things like that. And so I feel like for some of us, having it locked up is like the best way you can do it if your goal is to get into your first whare and you have a tendency to like be invested.
I'll just dip in.
Yeah, like, I deserve a treat, you know.
Yeah. I love, and I like the idea of, even my dad has spoken to me about like diversifying it, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? But once I understood it, I kind of got it. But I think I personally respond well when my money is sitting in different places, in the sense that like, since I've started investing, there's money there, but I don't see it. and it's hard to get out. The KiwiSaver, there's money there. And then even like from when I've traveled overseas, I'll put money on my Wise card or something, or like my travel card. And if I come back and there's money left on it, I forget about it. But when I go travel, it's like, I think the idea of like not putting money always back into one place, kind of filtering it out. And like, I think when we first met, I was speaking about how the first way I learned how to save was I would transfer the money to my parents. They had an account for me. And if I had to ask my mum for money, I just couldn't be bothered because I'd have to give like a whole PowerPoint presentation on why I needed to draw the money out. And I couldn't be bothered with the effort. So it's kind of the same thing, you know? It's kind of the same. My mum was like KiwiSaver for me because I'd be like, hey, can you transfer me this much from my account? Why? What's it for? How do you really need that much? And I'd just be like, you know what? Keep it, you know? And that works for me. But I think it's the same kind of concept, right?
I love that so much. And yeah, I really enjoyed that part. And like, it sounds like we have the same parents because like when I was little, like, I've always been into money and I would like beg mum, like, please, can I have a job, mum? And she'd be like, no, your job is school. And I'd be like, please, mum, please, mum. And one of the things I did, I would like write these like presentations for it. And I did like a PowerPoint presentation. I was like, this is why I should be allowed to get a job. And like, these are the benefits of it. And eventually I convinced her, which was cool. But yeah, those parents say they need convincing.
Yeah. And like my mum used to do, I can't remember if I spoke about this last time we saw each other, but it was, we would get $10 pocket money a week for the chores, right? Same chores every week. But you never saw the money. It just went into this mysterious account. And then, so there would be times in the year where we'd go somewhere and you might be like, oh, can I use my money from my account? And same again, mum would be like, why? What's it for? But because I was such a little hoarder with the money, I would always have like a really nice amount to spend at Christmas time, whereas my sister was a little bit different with money, so she'd always have nothing. But it was even little things like my dad used to he'd get annoyed having coins sometimes. So like we used to live in the islands in Tonga, and he'd just always have coins and not know what to do with them. So he'd just chuck them on my dresser, and I would just put them in this jar, right? And then at the end of the year, I had like $90 in coins and Dad was just giving me a few like every day, like not even realizing. And he was like, I should keep that. But it was funny because I was already in that save, just keep it till the end of the year. And then I got to spend it on, like go to the dairy or something, you know, whatever. Go get myself a little like Mountain Dew or something. Yeah. That was crack up.
That's so funny. It reminds me of my cousin. He did like something similar. And you know those like plastic drawers that people have? So he would like literally hoard all of his cash in there. And like one time I saw it and I was like, there's like hundreds of dollars in there. And like he had like all these $20 notes just in there from like just all of the stuff over his life where he would just like save it all. I was like, you're like, actually, that's crazy. But like, I guess like talking about like those money habits that people have, were there any that you had to like stop or change in order to like get prepared for getting a mortgage? Like, you know, like buy now, pay later, or whatever it is. Were there any things that you're like, okay, that's got to stop in order to do this?
I wasn't terrible, but I had things that were like comparatively to how I used to be I would get a little bit cheeky, I think, with sometimes money. So like, obviously I have my salary job, which that's my, like I always say like the business money. It covers the admin, it covers the bills, before I had a mortgage, the rent, you know. But then when I would do extra contracting work, I sort of had like before I had a business account, it would just sort of always come into the same account. But the money would vary, right? And so sometimes like a big job would come in and I would go, oh, big spend time. But the way I ended up after talking to an advisor was to have that account separate where that extra contracting work is coming in, and you take the same amount of drawings every pay. So like I get paid every fortnight. So I would almost pay myself out of that account every fortnight too. So it always stayed the same. So I was always working with the same budget, and that completely changed the way I was looking at that extra income. It wasn't about whether the job was a big job or a small job, whatever that pay was coming in, I only paid myself the same every fortnight, which is what I still do. I did it prior to getting the house just to save more and more money for that deposit. Because I would kind of have these accounts, like I'd have my business account and my spending account. And there was it was starting to kind of build up in the business account and I didn't know what to do with it. So then when it was like, no, take drawings all the time, but don't take it just when you feel like spending money. Take it every week and then you can allocate the money. So it was just moving. It wasn't that I was earning any more money. I just moved money into different places, if that made sense. So I just take the same drawings every fortnight, and that's kind of the fun money, but it never changes. That amount never changes. So it's kind of a better way to work within the sort of framework of a budget.
No, that's a really cool way of doing it. And I think like people who get into business, like sometimes, you can get like thousands of dollars for something and you're like, that's mean as, but it's like, bro, you've got tax to pay, you've got all of these other things that you've got to pay for. And so it's like literally not all your money. And so that's a system that I use too, so that it's like in my brain, it's like, no, these are two
It's the same
separate
every time.
things. Yeah.
Oh, that's another one. That's the paying extra taxes too, because I wasn't putting money
You
away
didn't
for
save
that.
for your taxes.
So Mr. IRD was going, yoo-hoo, where's my money?
Very quickly, Te whānau, if you are enjoying today's podcast episode, make sure to share it to your story and tag us. All right, back to the show.
And that only happened a couple of times before I figured it out. But now I have, like, as soon as a pay comes through the business, there's money goes into this account and that's just for tax, like for provisional or whatever. Money goes into here, you can't touch, and whatever's left, that can be part of the drawings budget. So it's just, everything's allocated and there's no money in limbo with no place. Like it's all got a purpose. Yeah.
Every dollar has a job. I love that. So were there any other things that you had to like change, in order to get approved for a loan?
Nah. And you know what? Afterpay's a funny one because I don't think I've ever been someone who has bought something I can't afford. But I love the idea of Afterpay because I do have like sort of quite stingy tendencies, and the idea of only having to pay $50 over the next 8 weeks, like every 2 weeks, rather than $200 at once, because I loved that budget framework. I liked that idea better, but then it gets to a slippery slope where you put 3 things on at once. So in the lead up to getting pre-approved for a mortgage, obviously our mortgage broker was like, look, like it's fine. This is how it looks to the bank. It looks like, so if your limit for Afterpay is $3,000, all the bank sees it is you've borrowed $3,000. They don't see that you haven't had used Afterpay in ages. So in the lead up to seeing the broker, I got rid of Afterpay, quit that. I had a credit card, which and I've always been fine with a credit card. It was more to do with I was just trying to get air points. Like that's all I used it for. I would use it, pay it back straight away. Like I was really, really good with it. But it was another thing that the bank looked at. So it was almost like, haven't you stopped using the credit card, got rid of Afterpay, lay-by, whatever those other sort of installment payment plans, got rid of all of it because it was less admin when you went to the bank. And then by the time the broker's looking at all your finances, he's like, oh, you're good to go. He goes, hey, I've seen this Afterpay. And he goes, it says you haven't used it for the last 3 months. Is that true? And I go, yeah, I haven't used it. I got rid of it. Sweet. So that was kind of like little things like that. And I don't even think I'm bad with money, but I would get cheeky. Sometimes I'd get cheeky with things like Afterpay or cheeky with my credit card, start spending it like it's not my money. So I just got rid of it. And honestly, in a year, I've had our house for maybe just coming up to a year, and I hadn't used any of those things in like 18 months. And as soon as you get rid of it, you realize you don't even need it. Yeah. So I think just getting rid of those like easy options, like just the delayed gratification, just wait for it. Like don't get it instantly. Yeah.
I love that too. And like my mindset is that, because I used to do exactly the same thing. I was like, it's like only like a little bit, like every, it's only $50, whatever it is. But what I realized was that like I was training myself that I could have things that like, yes, sometimes I could actually afford to pay it in full, but I like hated seeing the money leave my account. But now that I pay for everything like with cash or with like, my money instead of borrowing money, I find that I'm less actually likely to buy things because it feels harder to buy it. So like, before, I'd buy like $200 dresses. Like, girl, what were you dressing up for? Like, but like, girl, but I'd buy, well, like, they don't fit anymore. But I'm like, girl, like, you don't need that stuff. And so now it's crazy. Like my friends, they like hype me up when I go shopping because they're like, you really need to go shopping because like, I hate like buying things just for the sake of buying things.
I like that. It's like impulse control. And I think I had another thought. Keep talking because it'll come back to me.
Yeah, so I guess I like not using those things, not because, I think that for a lot of people, they justify it because it's like, well, I can afford to do it. It's interest free. It's like not that thing. But for me, it's like, well, you're training yourself to buy things that you don't, like if you could afford, just pay for it in cash. It's like basically the same thing, except you're paying it over a longer period of time. And so I feel like, especially if you want to get into your first home, like that's just like a habit that we can just slowly change. And it's not to say don't buy the dress, don't buy the thing, just like have a little bit more intentionality behind like the decisions you're making. Like, so I have a fun account. So that account is literally for like, if I want to buy clothes or if I want to go out or whatever it is like that. And I'm not allowed to like take money from my insurance account for this. So like, I'm like very like, That's my rule. Like, that's my fun account. If it's empty, there's no fun. No,
Yeah,
it's like,
no.
go for a walk.
No, literally. Yeah, go
Yeah.
outside. You'll be
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think I've tried to sort of implement now, like if I want to buy something and like clothing or whatever it might be, the fun thing that I want to buy, if I can't buy it like 3 or 4 times, then like I'm not going to buy it. Like then it's out of budget if I can't buy it at that many times. But I'm the same. Like I think I've gotten into that, especially once we got into home ownership. There's an account for everything. And so it's, like the money having, what is it? Money has a job. Is that what you said before? Every dollar has a job. So like we have like a grocery and takeaways account. So that's like if we want to go out for brekkie on Saturday or whatever. And that like, I don't know why, because I got stingy with that account. So now that one's kind of always in surplus. But now the zero of the food account for me is like a couple $100. So if it gets to like $200-300 in the account, I'm like, oh no, because I'm always like, one day I'm gonna have to do a big grocery shop and I'm gonna need that extra couple $100. But then there's the insurance account, there's the bills account, the rates account, like an account kind of for everything. My everyday is just whatever else.
Or
now.
It's
at
funny.
this point.
See, my everyday, it's like $0. It's like it's like I always, but like people always ask me, they're like, how do you do it? Like, how do you actionably action? Is that even a word? I don't even know. How do you do it? Like when you go to the grocery store, and I'm like, I just transfer like from my food account to my card account, and it also makes me more intentional about my spending, because if I'm going out just buying things willy nilly, and I'm like, well, like, where is that money coming from? So I'm like, if I'm taking money from my food account, it's like for food. If I'm taking money for like, my fun account, it's for fun. But if I'm buying like dumb stuff and I'm taking it on my fun account, I'm like, I'm choosing to buy this over something that I actually want. So I think that I think that creating space in between like how you do things. I feel like we're so fast. Like our generation is so quick. That's what my mum's always yipping on it. She's like, just slow down. Yeah. And it's like when you slow down and when you pause a little bit and you just like think about it, like, do I really need this? Like I've already got these dresses, like, and I'm not someone to like discourage people from like enjoying your life. And I think that like life is for living. I never want to get to like, if I get to 100, if I get to 80, whatever, like think far, like I never did anything fun, but I think like we can have it all. And I think that if we're intentional, if we're like mindful about our habits, and if we like, self-development and learning this stuff, because we didn't all grow up like learning this stuff, but in order to make progress, we've got to like take some responsibility to do the things, to learn the things, and to change our habits. And it's hard. And it's why I think a lot of people will avoid it, because it's not easy. Like, say for example, living in that same flat, when you're seeing all your friends, oh, they've got a bougie flat, they've got this, they've got a new kettle, like my house is cold, and that's not like, and that's just like, I guess, one example, but it's hard growing, it's hard doing things that most people aren't doing.
And I also, I love how you just like learning things. And I also learned that like money is energy.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's a little bit woo-woo for some people, but
until Māori, it is like,
and I very much think that what you put into like what you invest into money is what you get out of it. I think if you use it better, I think it's going to treat you better. And so I think learning that was a good one for me. And also like even when it comes to accepting jobs, I think it's really easy to slip into it. And because I've had opportunities to make more money on this journey to home ownership, I think it was really easy to slip into like, yep, I'll take that job. Yep. But then I've also learned like mana over money. Like let it align with you. Let the job align with you. If it doesn't, another bit of money will come. Like money does like come and go. Like maybe that's not the right job. If it feels wrong, then don't do it. It's not worth it. And I think it's not worth, putting your like personal beliefs aside, your morals aside, just to get quicker to that goal. Like you'll get that goal in your own time. Like you'll get there. Yeah.
I love this so much. And, when you talked about opportunities, I think that so many of us are looking at like, oh, the cost of living so high. Oh, like, I'm in debt, or like, everything's so hard. And I feel like a lot of us, I've been there before, where like, it's kind of addicting thinking about like problems and all of this kind of stuff. And I feel like there's got to, if you want to achieve your goals, you've got to have this shifted mindset to start looking at opportunities. So like in your situation, what were some of the things that you were looking at, like, oh, okay, like this is an opportunity, or like, how did you think about like, okay, I could make some extra money here, I could do this, like, how did you do that?
I think coming into the role, I was really lucky that the role I had just prior to being on air at Mai FM, I was working at a radio station behind the scenes doing social media. So I was running their social media pages, their websites, and the sort of main goal and the KPI for that was generating website traffic or generating online traffic. So I was fortunate that I kind of had those skills already. And so when I came on air, one of the things my boss at the time had said, like, I would love if you can help sort of generate more traffic to the channels for your show and things like that. And a few people had said, like, you know, if you can apply that to your own brand, your own self, your own pages, that could mean you, like, brands will want to work with you or whatever. So the same sort of, I don't know, work I was putting into the Mai FM accounts or the My Morning Crew accounts, I applied to my own stuff and just started to grow it. So I was like, you know, goal in mind, I'd love to get like 10,000 followers on Instagram. And then I hit it. And then it was like, okay, 20, hit it, 30. And then I got to like 50 and I'm like, okay, where can I take it? I think recently, like not last year, the year before, I had a goal. I really wanted to hit 100K on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. And literally I made it on Instagram like the 30th of December. Like I just was grinding all year. So I think I knew that if I invested the time and mahi into just trying to growing a presence online here in Aotearoa and I guess Australia as well, more opportunities would come my way because they'd be like, oh, well, Tegan has a presence. People kind of know who Tegan is. So like I've been able to do like work with brands that I know and love and get paid to do that. I've been able to MC at different things. I've been able to you know, be on like do TV and like do TV shows. And it was more about, and I see sometimes me, like at times I've gotten opportunities over other people because I've had the presence. So I've seen it in real time and like really tangible evidence that effort has paid off. So I think for me, and not everyone in radio does that. Some people don't really like being online. They like doing the radio thing and then going home and that's it. But it's been able to open more doors for more money making opportunities, more networking. And my mate says, she likes to say future proofing. If radio disappears one day, I've got other avenues I can go down now or other ways, like other brands I can connect with where I could do mahi for them in the future. So I think that's kind of just the way I was looking at it. And it's like, everyone's different, but that was where I saw the opportunity was in like, okay, if I can make myself a brand, which is really weird. And you'll know because you've had to build it as well. It's strange. And like talking to the camera on your own, it feels a bit cringy and weird, but you get used to it.
Yeah, even like walking down the street and like sometimes I think that people are a bit whakamā to like say hi or something, but like people just like kind of look at you and it's like, do they know me?
It's
like
me.
like hey girl, like
Yeah.
you know, or like I've found that quite like different from anything because like I was a girl who like I got bullied a lot at schools and like you know a lot of the schools I went to lots of different schools, but you know I didn't have friends and stuff, so it's so weird that people like me now. Or like some people
which
do.
is strange because you're really approachable and like you're really warm. But it's cool because that translates, I can see it translating for you online, which is such a cool space. And that's the beauty. Social media has, for all its flaws, is awesome because we're able to connect with people that we would never connect with before. You can find, there is someone for you. Like you can find someone you'll be able to relate to 100% all the time. And I think the cool shift in social media, I think it's like since COVID, is we would always look online at like curated aesthetics and lifestyles that felt unattainable. But now we're following like mums with 3 kids that look like their household's always a little bit, I don't know, feral. But it's fun because you're like, oh my God.
Same.
I know that life. Or you see someone like maybe you're a uni student and someone from uni is posting about how they just did an all-nighter and like they've got an exam the next day and you're like, oh my God, that was me. And so there's so many more, like people are more relatable online because I think we can see through it. And I think that it's cool. I love that about social media. And I think that's probably what you've been able to do. And I know I've been really lucky that I have been able to do that. I feel like in the same way people look at me, girl from small town is randomly on the radio and is like doing some cool stuff. Someone might connect with that just like they connect with you, girl from small town is now kind of giving people guidance or like ideas on how they can be better with money. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, I love it so much. And I think that, you know, one of the things when I got into this journey, I was like, oh, like, you know, I haven't cracked it. Like, you know, and I was like scared to kind of do this, but it's like, I think that people like that you can be on the journey and you can share that. And the things that have like popped off the most is when I'm like opening my heart and I'm like sharing the most vulnerable stuff that like I'll hit post and it's stuff that like people in my family don't know about me or like my even friends don't know about me. And I'm just like vulnerable and sharing it all. And it's like, it's actually scary sometimes to like share that. But I think that what that does is it connects with people because like, you know, I'll share just like, you know, super vulnerable stuff, but people connect with that. People relate to that. And it's sad to be honest, but I think that it's real and that's the reality that we're in. And so, you know, my goal is just to share like, yeah, we can we can go through challenges, we can do all of these things, but we can also, like, there's hope. We can get through it.
We can make mistakes.
Yeah, and I make mistakes all the time.
But
and
we can pivot and then get to the goal eventually.
Yeah. And I think, like, that's so powerful to be able to, like, know that there's hope. Because there was a time in my life where I was like, you know, when I started Māori Millionaire, like, I was like, this is just like a fantasy. I'm like, yeah, like, and I was like, you know, getting interviewed, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. And like, there's people in the comments like, girl, like, you should just go to the gym, or like, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, wow. But like, it's weird because now I'm like, it's literally only a matter of time. Like, I know that these things are going to happen because I'm doing all of the mahi, and like, I don't, you know, listen to the outside noise of like, oh, you're dreaming, girl. And like, it's funny, I've got this like notes app of like all my haters, and I'm like, so like when I become a millionaire, you best believe those TikToks are going to be popping off.
No, do you know what though? Do you know what? I'm a little bit the same with social media. Like, I used to be like, ignore the bad comments, whatever, because you never want to give that more energy than you do the positive. And you'll know the same. You usually have just as many, if not 10 times more positive
hard
comments.
out, but
we
they
always
hurt
focus
more.
on we always focus on the negative. But I just started like posting their name, calling it up. You want to give me that energy, I'll give it back, which is maybe not the best, but it makes you feel empowered by it. And I think what I can see from you and what I've seen from you is you're such a big like visualizer. And I think that's so important in whatever your goal is, like whether it's a financial one or whether it's a personal one. And for me, like, it was buying a home before I was 30, even though it felt like I wasn't going to do it. I think I could just see it. I just kept visualizing it and kept trying to make choices that I knew would help toward that goal. And I think just keeping that at the top of mind, like whether you need like a physical vision board or whether you just need like just like close your eyes for a second and just think like, I'm in my house right now. Yeah. I think always visualizing it brings you closer. It's like the law of attraction, right? Like if you keep speaking it into existence, like, nope, I'm going to own a house one day. I'm going to own a house by this time. I think you're always going to make moves like unconsciously toward that goal. Yeah.
Hard out. I agree with that so much. You know, so for a lot of people, like the deposit is like the biggest part of like
it's the biggest
getting
barrier.
Yeah. But like other than that, so if they're, you know, actively contributing to their KiwiSaver, they've set their goal and they are, you know, contributing to their KiwiSaver, they're reducing their discretionary spending, they're saving for it, they're taking these like action steps in order to make that dream an actual reality. What are the other things that you had to save for in order to buy your first whare?
I think over time, like living in my flat, I had done the thing where the fridge was mine, the couch was mine, the TV was mine, the coffee table was mine. So I think over the years, I was almost like, even though it's annoying when people move out a lot, every single time, if someone took something from the flat that was theirs, I would replace it. So by the time we moved into a house, we didn't need anything. The only thing we needed was a dining room table, and my father-in-law had one in storage unit. So we were really lucky. Like, we didn't really have to buy anything once we moved into the house. Had a bed, had drawers, you know, and like eventually I've been able to like replace certain little things, but I kind of was like collecting all the bits that I knew would be major points of, you know, spending as soon as we moved into the house. And so it was all covered. Like, so that was like another thing. I think seek advice from an expert, whether that's a mortgage broker or the bank. I think because we don't know a lot about home ownership until you have a home, which is obviously like a privilege, that journey to go on. I think everyone thinks they're so far away from that point, but if you just talk to an expert, you might realize you're a lot closer than you think, or have a tangible goal to work toward to get to a point where you can. Because I know 20% deposit is obviously the goal. Not everyone needs 20%. I think the experts can kind of just give you a little bit of advice on what would be best for you, whether you're spending well. I knew that when I was talking to experts, I got, like, you're looking at the mortgage rates at the time, because I was like, there's no way I can afford it. I'm using calculators online going, oh my God, that's so expensive. Like, how could I, once I even get a home, can I even afford to service the mortgage? Because that's a whole nother thing. Buying the house is one thing. Servicing a mortgage, paying rates, everything is a whole other kettle of fish. But they will stress test you at a higher rate than what's available. So if they say, yep, you're good to go, you're really good to go with buffer room. Like, you're good. So I think just having confidence in those experts and not being shy to ask the questions, no questions dumb. I was asking 10 million questions all the time, being like, yeah, but what about this? But what about if I did this? And they're so used to it. Like, everyone's meant to ask questions. You're not meant to know everything. You don't know it until you know it. So yeah, I think that was probably the big thing, is actually making the first step to talk to an expert. Then I went, oh, okay, it's actually not that far away.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Nah, I love this so much. Did you have like a savings account for like your lawyer, your limb, building report,
Yeah.
things like that?
Not explicitly for that, but I did have the money away. And I think another thing with going on the journey, so I started off doing it on my own, ended up doing it with my boyfriend, which was a big deal. But for where we were at, it made more sense to do it together. And, that's a whole nother thing with lawyers too, because obviously there was a discrepancy in what we were contributing, what we would be contributing once we had the house. But in the journey it took from me starting to look for a house to actually having a house was 9 months. So that's 5 failed auctions. So that's 5 builders reports we had to pay for, which are, not cheap, but they're worth the investment. That's the money you want to spend. That's also, the lawyers we were with were really good. Like, they didn't charge us every single time. It was only charging to a certain point. But, it's you need to have that money there too. But like, you get cash back from the banks too. And I don't know what the percentage is, and I wouldn't want to clarify, but you can talk to your bank about that. And that can usually pay for that stuff. So that's really handy.
That is helpful. So would you, like, if you had a ballpark, so, if you're thinking about, how many did you say, like, failed, or I guess not,
I
but,
would say if you could, if possible, try have at least like $5,000 available. You're probably not going to spend that much. Or you might, or that might be
or
an
it will
easy
be like
spend.
reimbursed with the cashback kind of type
exactly.
thing.
But I would say like having like 5 to maybe 7 available for if you need to pay for lawyers more than once, if you have to buy builders reports more than once, that's a really, really safe, good buffer to have. But some people, like my best mate, her and her partner bought a house, they got the first one they looked at. Not everyone's journey is the same. I was just really unlucky that it took so long, but we got the best house.
What were you attracting, girl?
I don't know. There was some and do you know what? The house we got, I walked in and went, there's no way I'm getting this. After 5 failed auctions, I was like, no, there's no way. This is too good. This house is way out of our league. It's not happening. And it took a reframing of going, my boyfriend kept going, no, like we might. And then we had a really helpful real estate agent that was like, I'll do everything I can to get this one. And it felt like we all locked in on that one, and maybe the manifesting got us that. But it's really important to have like a good team, even talking to a real estate agent as well. Yeah. Because like sometimes it can be a bit scary, but it's really cool if you know someone. Maybe you've got a friend, or maybe a friend of a friend, or maybe someone that helped your whānau get into a house. If there's like an already established connection, it feels less vulnerable to talk to them about it. And they seem scary, but a lot of them have got your back.
I wanted to touch on just after like you purchase your home. So you talked a little bit about changing your KiwiSaver, and like whether it's in a growth fund or an aggressive fund and all of those types of things. So I think we didn't kind of, or at the start, like kind of clarify for the audience like what those different funds kind of mean. And so I just wanted to like touch on that a little bit and think about how, like, now that you're in your first whare, have you changed you've changed your fund since then, and what you're investing in? And is that with the mindset that now you've got, say, like a longer period of time before retirement, and so there's like a lot more time to ride out the highs and the lows of the market, so you can potentially take more risk. But obviously everyone should get their own personalized advice about KiwiSaver. But yeah, how has your mindset, I guess, changed since getting into your first whare about like where to from here? And tell me more.
So I went from having it in sort of a moderate fund, which is kind of in the middle, at 8% contributions. Now that I have the house, we've brought the contributions down, and this is after getting some advice on that, brought the contribution down to 3%, which is the lowest. Oh, no, sorry, 4%. I did 4%. And now it's an aggressive fund because, like you say, I've got that time now. I'm in my 20s. I've got that time to, just move with the ebbs and flows of the risk, because it's going to do a lot more of this than the fund I had previous. And I'm not touching that money until retirement, right? But that extra 4%, I actually have decided to invest that elsewhere. So I think for me, there might be a time where, I don't know, I don't have as much mahi or don't have as much work or whatever that may be. So the sort of advice that I got given was to put it into an investment that is doing more than it would do just sitting in a bank at that time, but have it so that I can access it at any point. So if there's any stresses over the next few years. So this money could be money in the next 10 years I put onto the mortgage. It could be money I put into maybe some renos. It could be just money that I keep for a trip in 15 years time. Who knows? But it was just a way that I can, moved my KiwiSaver around. So now it's working for my retirement, which is cool. And I can't wait to just see that tick over. But now that KiwiSaver, I'm not even looking at it now. I'm like, you're just over there. I don't even know what's in there right now. Like
You're doing the mahi and I'll get the treats in retirement.
Yeah, I'll, when I'm 65, I'll go, all right, let's go. Like,
I think, for a lot of people, they, buy the house and they're like, oh, cool, like I don't need to like contribute to my KiwiSaver anymore.
No, you need to. It's for your retirement. Yeah, and my dad very much drummed that into me as well because, I think we don't think about it when we're younger as well. We don't think about the fact that there's going to be a point where you can't really work anymore. We don't think about the fact that there's a point in time where you've earned the right to just give it a rest. You know what I mean? And like, I know not everyone will be able to afford to retire at 65 anymore. I think with the way the economy is, it's different now. Like to be fair, like my dad's 60 and I was like, you're going to retire at 65? And I think he was like, no, I've got a mortgage. Like, so he might keep working because he's capable. But I think we've earned that right. So make sure you're thinking about your future self. Don't think about your life in just the 5 to 10 year span. You're allowed to think about it for the next 50 years. But not so much so that you're like fear-mongering yourself into like not buying the dress. Buy the dress, girl. Buy
like
it.
You can do both. You can go to Molly
you're
and
like,
you can buy it.
You're like, I'll have this dress when I'm 70. Like.
Hard out.
Yeah.
I guess, the other thing about KiwiSaver that I think a lot of people don't realize is like if you have a job, then if you're over the age of 18, your employer is going to match those initial contributions up to a certain threshold, and there's a lot of changes happening in that space. But the other thing too is your government contribution. So if you invest $1,042, then you're going to get $261 of a government contribution. And like that to me is like, there is nowhere where you're going to get a guaranteed like 25% on that, just on that government contribution. And I think people are missing out on like megabucks. Like $1,000 a year is literally like $20 a week. And, if you're able to do that and invest over the long term, and like if you start that, like I started when I was 14, which I'm so grateful that my mum was like, no girl, like do this. But that's like 51 years until I had to do some 51 years until 65. That's a long time for that to grow. And like, I hope that I'm like having pina coladas on the beach in my retirement, but like
we're on a cruise. We're on a retirement cruise. Do you know what though? That is such a good point because I always forget about that. Your employer contributions, sorry. Because I forget about that, and I have friends that maybe they're full-time contractors, and a lot of them don't have big KiwiSavers. And so I think that's another thing. If you're young and you're working in jobs that's contracting, because a lot of people do, like make sure you have something set aside. It doesn't have to be heaps, but I think just making the point to do that. But if you've got a salary job, take the money from
it's
your
like
employer.
Free money. Like,
exactly. It's money you won't get otherwise. I can tell you that much for free.
You're going to have to fight for that. But the other thing too, I think people don't realize, like if you're negotiating a pay rise and like potentially your boss might say no to like a pay rise, but you could potentially negotiate like, hey, would you be able to bump it up to a 4% match or a 5% match? Like it's just like creative ways where, business owners think differently about money. So like giving you a pay rise might be different for them to being able to increase your match. So they might be more likely to give you a higher match as opposed to a higher, a pay rise. So like just thinking about things in that kind of way. I'm so sad that, well, not really, but like that I don't get my employer match anymore. It's a sad thing about working for yourself, but it's also, it's cool and grateful.
But then all your money's like yours and you're your own boss. Yeah. So, I wish I was my own boss. That's me future-proofing. That's why I work so much outside. I'm choosing busy this year. Like that's my thing. I like to say like, because I'm always busy doing stuff all the time. But it's like busy's actually a choice. Choose your busy, and like I make sure I'm busy in the sense that it's helping future me, whether that's financially or career wise or just preparing me for a time that like if my whole world turned on its head, I'm all right. Like I like how you said you've got 6 months of your expenses away, because I've always thought at least 3 months. I mean, I was telling my partner as well. I was like 3 months is a really good gauge to have just like in your savings. And but I always tell him like I like round numbers is always like fun. Like you save your first lot of money, you want to save your first 1,000.
I love like
and then you're like 5,
yes,
10.
Yep.
Oh, 20.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's so nice when you have it in a nice whole number.
Hard.
And I think it's like, make it a game, like make the saving a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, like when I first heard like people talking about like saving 6 months, I was like, how the hell are you doing that? Like that's ridiculous. But like honestly, like I saved my first $1,000. Like I would dip into it, I would waste it on like dumb stuff. Like I was just crazy, and I'd do those. And then, you know, I started to like get better at it, and I was like, okay, I can keep $1,000. And I think that like we're able to hold like what we believe that we can kind of like, if we've got evidence like, oh, I can keep 10K, I can keep 15, like we're able to do that. And so like just for anyone who's looking and like for 6 months, like that's crazy. Like I started off with like literally $500, and then it was 1K, 2K, and I just moved up from there. And for me, it just like gives me so much peace of mind. As you said, like, you know, this mahi is so crazy. And so it just gives me a lot of peace of mind that like, okay, like if anything happens, I've got 6 months to like figure things out. And like, that's half a year. So I'm like, you know,
It's the buffer.
yeah, so much peace of mind, like that and insurance. I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. Like everything's all good. I guess, are there any other kind of, for people who are thinking about, you know, they see people buying their homes, they see it on Instagram and they're like, cool, but like, that's just like a lot. Like, how do you do that? And I think especially in, you know, those TikToks of like, like we're in that generation where people are like buying houses, getting married, you know, and this comparison and like like everyone's so like doing so well, and I'm just like not. And like I think some people will look at some of the things we've done, but like I personally still experience that where I look at what other people are doing and I'm like, like how is she doing that? And it's like I have to remind myself, like compare myself to who I was yesterday and like stop looking at what other people are doing. But I guess if someone is in that space, like is there a little pep talk you could give them to like really push them that like they can do this? There's just like a few things that maybe got to change a little bit.
I think it's always that the investment that you put into yourself and your goals is like that's the only results you should be counting on. I also think that a comparison is the thief of joy. Well, there's always going to be someone doing better than you that you're going to want to compare yourself to. But there's also a bunch of people looking at you probably going, oh, I wish I was there. So I think like if we get stuck in that mindset, I think you really have to just tunnel vision it, like focus on what's good for you, and the people around you, if they don't support that, then they're not the right people to be around you. I think like investing in all those other things, like the people that you have in your circle, I think that makes a big difference. Like a lot of my friends we're all very supportive of each other, like hustling or getting the new job or fighting for the opportunity or saving for the house. And like, I think that was really influential for me, like the people I had around me. We're all at really different ages, different stages, and even like reframing the order of things. I think the traditional order, right, is like, especially for a woman, you think you find a man, you find a man, you get engaged, you get married, you get a house, you have a baby. Like there's this real traditional way of looking at things that's just all we know and what we've grown up with or being surrounded by with media. But I think it's different now. Like relationships are a little bit more modernized. You can do it on your own. A lot of women aren't having kids. They're prioritizing career, and that is fine to do that. The other thing is, because I always say man's not a plan. And I learned that from an advisor as well. And her name's Shelley. But then the next thing is like like just moving your mindset around the milestones. So for me, I always have this idea. So like when we got the home, you figure out the ownership, the percentages, what's the vibe. And that was obviously a really big discussion for my partner and I. And I kept saying like, it's going to be this percentage, but once we're married, it's this. And it took my dad going, huh? He goes, what do you mean once you're married? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, but you're buying a house first. He said, buying a house is like pretty much getting married. It's the same kind of responsibility. So I had to really sort of undo what I had learned about traditional sort of timelines and go, no, like the house is our milestone. Yeah, we're not doing it in the traditional sense of how it used to be, but committing to things just as much. And like, you don't have to be married to do the next thing. Like you can join a partnership and sort it out together like that. And then so all those other goals, like, man, I hope I have kids one day, but it might not even happen, and that's fine. And I think, I think when we're younger, I go, I'm going to have a kid by the time I'm 30. I'm going to be married by this age. No, like get rid of all of that. I think working toward a property is probably a better thing to say, like, I want to do it by this age. I think it's a better investment at times. Some of the boyfriends some of my friends have had, I'm like, well, yeah, you know what I mean?
Like 60, I think it was 60% of marriages like end in divorce or something like that.
And
like,
isn't that scary? Yeah. Isn't that scary? You're like, oh my God, what if I'm in that 60%? No.
No, we're manifesting that 40%.
But I liked how my dad sort of challenged me on some of the ideas I had around commitment and putting into things, and how the house was the marriage. That was the commitment. Maybe I'll get my ring later, hopefully, but fingers crossed. But yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice, especially for women. And I know there's a lot of women out there, especially young women, that just have the idea. It's like, oh, well, mum and dad got married and they had a house and then they did this. Like, just because that was what you grew up seeing, that's not necessarily your journey. And just let it be something you do on your own, like a personal journey. If you want a house, you can do it on your own. It's possible. It's a different lot of work, and it's probably a little bit tougher to do that, but you're only relying on yourself to get there. So why not put all of that energy into you doing it on your own? Like, I think it's a little bit more empowering as well.
Hard out. It's like so much more rewarding, and also like you've got no control about like anything external of you, but like you can control like the habits that you have. And so if we're like relying on like, oh, I gotta wait for the man, I gotta wait for this, it's like the goalpost just keeps on moving. And it's like, but if you like just focus on you and like achieving your goals and like your fulfillment, then like you can actually, the goalpost doesn't move, because it's like, cool, I've done that. And like for all our single ladies out there, or maybe our single men who are like, you know, I want to get into home ownership, but like I don't have a partner, and it's like everyone's buying with their partner. Like, do you think that there are other ideas for like, you know, people to get into home ownership that don't involve like buying with your partner?
I was almost going to say it's easier with a partner. Not necessarily. I mean, because there's always the risk that you and your partner potentially split in like 5-10 years time. Who knows? And that's a whole other thing. But I think you can do it on your own. You can do it with a friend if you want to. If you've got someone in your close circle that has got similar goals to you, why not talk about that? You could do it with a sibling. I know me and my sister kind of dabbled with the idea of doing the home thing together, and then dabbled the other way. Like, we were like, oh, maybe not. But even I remember a peer, like an older peer, saying to me at work, he was like, oh, have you thought about, because my parents own a home. They were like, he's like, have you thought about talking to them about it? I said, what do you mean? You could use their equity. You could maybe join up with them and get a house together. Like, there's so many options if you kind of broaden your mindset to it not being traditional and being with your partner. Because, I mean, sometimes your partners, they come and go like seasons. You just don't know. You want to find something that works for you, and obviously talk about it with a lawyer. It doesn't matter if it's a family member or whoever else. Always make sure that there's like a tight, solid, I don't know, something to protect both of you, you know, no matter what happens. But I think we've got a lot more diverse options when it comes to getting into property. I've heard of people that, like, 4 friends that flatted together have all put in to get a house. I don't know how it is now, but like, you know, I think that's an idea I've never thought of, but it's a really good idea.
That's mean. I love that. And just like thinking outside of the box, because so many people are like, oh, there's only one way to do it. It's like, no, there's like so many different things, ways you can do it. So, you know, high contributions to your KiwiSaver. Delaying gratification, thinking about your money habits, getting support, like building your team of people who can like help you and, you know, advise you as to like what are the right steps for you. You know, making sure your friends, I guess, are like people that you want to be around, people that hype you up instead of like discouraging you, and like, you know, your goals are just as important for them as they are for you.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
even if you see like the rich fella at work, kind of lean in and be like, how'd you do that? How are you where you're at? Like I really enjoyed picking bits of sort of other people's journeys and seeing like what could work for me. But I'm always like someone who asks like a million questions. So how did you get the house? How did you get into your second one? Or what are you doing there? Or, hey, you got a really nice car. Like, what do you do outside of Mahi? Because I'm going, I know you don't earn much here. So what's the vibe? But there's a lot of people, especially in my workplace, I'm really lucky. People are a bit more out there, and like there's a lot of people at work, so like they might have more of a desk job, but outside of work they're on like Burger King ads or something like that, you know, or like fast food ads. They're finding those opportunities where they can earn more money to get to their goals a little quicker.
Being a little bit more analytical and like delaying gratification. Like, I feel like these are just like some really powerful tips, and so I just wanted to like thank you for your time today and for being here and just like sharing with such like openness. I feel like putea isn't something that a lot of us talk about openly. So I just wanted to like really make you know that I'm so grateful for your time and for you sharing your mātauranga with us today. I know that there's so many people who are going to listen to this and who are going to be just completely inspired by your journey. So thank you so much.
And I know, and just like a reminder to anyone, this journey, my journey is unique to me. you might find some bits that you relate to, but you might not. And I know where I come from and the journey I've been on has been at a lot of points a privileged one. But I hope there's something you can take from it, even if it's just a small mindset change. Yeah.
No, grateful as for your time today, sis. And looking forward to where you go from here.
Hopefully 10 houses now.
Māori multi-millionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Your actionable steps for today, e te whānau, make sure you map out your numbers, do your budget, focus on your KiwiSaver contributions and increasing those over time. There are a bunch of calculators and tools in the show notes below that will help you to run those numbers for you. Mauri ora. Your actionable step today. Map out your plan to getting into your first home. Maybe it's checking the deposit savings, reviewing your budget, or learning about first home ownership schemes. Progress is progress no matter the size. ANZ has some awesome tools to calculate how much you could borrow and the repayments for a first home. You can even book in to speak to one of their home loan coaches to make a plan. It's completely commitment free and you do not have to be an ANZ customer. I've linked you to more information in the show notes below. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to send it to a friend, whānau member, or on your story. Please make sure to tag us too. The information in this podcast is for general information only and isn't financial advice. The views of the host or guests are their own and do not represent ANZ. ANZ and Māori Millionaire does not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the content and isn't liable for any loss arising from its use. Please seek personalised advice before making financial decisions. Boom, 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 boom.